Hi guys, this is my favourite subject to talk about. It's about filters that you don't know you're looking through. You are not seeing the world directly. You are seeing it through filters that formed long ago. And the reason that matters is simple. What you see feels like reality, but it may be interpretation shaped by repetition. It's the lens that decides what stands out and what fades into the background in your reality. It decides what feels threatening and what feels safe. So you've got these filters and then you've got reality here. If you have a filter that says, I'm not fully wanted, you will notice every small thing that supports that idea because you're looking through that filter. A delayed reply would feel like a big deal. A distracted tone will feel like a personal stab. You won't notice the steady messages, the constant effort, the neutral explanations. Your attention will move towards what confirms the filter. The filter does not shout, it selects. The filter doesn't come and announce itself and say, hey, come and look through me. It's just there. It chooses what to pay attention to and what to ignore. Here's how a filter is formed. An early experience in your life carries emotional weight, and that emotional weight teaches your body something about the world. If you were criticised often, your system may have learned to look for disapproval. If connection felt unstable, your system may have learned to look for withdrawal. If praise was rare, you may have learned to look for what's missing. Those early patterns don't disappear. They become lenses, and you have to see through them just to see reality. If your filter says people eventually leave and someone pulls back slightly, it will feel like proof and you will contribute to people eventually leaving. But what you are feeling is alignment with the filter. Like I said before, the filter highlights data that matches it. So it is choosing what to ignore and what to pay attention to. So everything that's going on in reality and what you're not paying attention to, it becomes background noise. You can only see what your filter lets you see. This is probably why two people can have the same experience at the same event and walk away with completely different conclusions and meanings to that event. One sees opportunity and one sees a risk. One sees criticism and one sees feedback. One sees distance and one sees busyness. The difference is not intelligence, it's the filter. Let's make this concrete. Imagine you send a message to someone that you care about. Hours pass without a reply, but you can see that they've seen your message. If your filter says, I'm not important, your mind will likely move towards that story. They're ignoring me. I must have said something wrong. They don't care about me. The body responds to that interpretation. The body hears everything. Tension rises and your mood shifts. Now, if the reply eventually comes with a simple explanation, your nervous system may not fully relax. This is because the filter already activated. Another person in that same situation with a different filter might think that the other person is probably busy. Same event, but a different internal experience. The filter does not just change how you interpret the world. It changes how you feel in it. It shapes your posture, your tone, and your timing. What I mean by that is your posture is a direct telltale sign that you don't feel good about yourself. And then your tone is also a sign of safety. If you expect criticism, you might speak more cautious. If you expect rejection, you might hold back slightly. If you expect disappointment, you may not lean in fully. Those subtle adjustments influence how others respond, and their response often reinforces the filter. This is how filters quietly build your life. They do not need to be accurate, they just need to be repeated. If you have looked for what's wrong long enough, you will find it quickly. If you have scanned for danger long enough, your body will prepare before you even know why. The world then feels tense, even when nothing dramatic is happening. But here's something steady to hold on to. Filters are not truth, they are habits of attention. And habits can be noticed. You don't remove a filter by pretending it's not there. You begin by naming it. You stop and think, what am I expecting right now? What story am I moving towards automatically? What evidence am I overlooking right now? Because filters don't just select what fits, they ignore what doesn't. If you believe that you are overlooked, you might ignore the moments when you are actually chosen. If you believe you're too much, you may ignore the moments when your intensity is welcomed. If you believe you are behind, you might ignore the progress that you've made. With filters, your attention becomes selective, and selective attention builds identity. But that moment you realise you're looking through a lens, you gain a small but powerful space. Instead of doing the usual reaction immediately, you can pause. You can separate the event from the interpretation. So here's the fact that we have here. The message is late, but the interpretation is, I am being ignored. Another fact, they seemed distracted. Interpretation could be something like, I'm not interesting. The separation is not denial, it's clarity. And clarity reduces unnecessary suffering. Over time, you can deliberately gather new data, but for the opposite direction. For example, you can notice consistency when it appears. You can acknowledge neutral explanations. You can allow positive moments to register fully instead of dismissing them or missing them. New data doesn't just erase old filters overnight, but repeated new data can soften them. Not broken because you have filters. You are human. Every nervous system builds shortcuts based on experience. The key here is whether you believe those shortcuts are permanent truths. The key here is whether you believe those shortcuts are permanent truths to stand by. So here's something to consider quietly. If the world often feels a certain way to you, what filter might you be looking through? And what might you begin to see if you gently adjusted the lens?